A starving artist is a stereotype for a reason. This is really dumb. This is not, to me, creativity.
Welcome to the Creative Current Podcast, a show where I talk with Grammy-nominated musicians, Michelin star chefs, and other creatives. Not the five-step playbook to success, but honest, personal conversations about what it actually feels like to live a creative life. I'm David Rust, and creativity has shown up for me in the early days of building Lyft, in playing salsa music in Cuba, and in running a hospitality business on farms. Through all of it, creating has taught me some of the most interesting things about myself. So let's go meet some incredible creators and hear what they've discovered about themselves along the way. Today I'm talking to Bobby Ghoshal, an incredible human who I first got to know when we worked together in New York City. He served as the head of digital design at WeWork in its $45 billion heyday, one of the most ambitious scaling stories in startup history. And he's now the CEO and founder of Dupe, an incredible app that has helped over 2 million people find affordable lookalikes of expensive products. He grew up in India, created drawings of Disney characters that he was selling to parents in elevators. He's truly hustled and built himself into who he is today. And when he moved to the US at the age of 15, he taught himself design and never really looked back. What drives him creatively is this idea of making things accessible and affordable for people that he feels like should not be out of reach. It's led to him creating some incredible products and amazing experiences, and he's built an amazing design philosophy around that. So let's dive in and get to know him. I always find it really fascinating to get to know somebody first as who they were when they were younger. And so like, who was young Bobby, and how was he different, if any way, than how you are now?
Well, I moved around a lot. Like my mom was a single mom, and my dad, like when she wasn't single, like we moved over. He was in the Navy in India, and we moved around a lot. So I got to. I think I went to like 6 different schools. So like it was one of those things where I had to learn how to kind of reinvent myself every time. Actually, put it different, because that doesn't sound like a positive. It was actually quite positive, because I got to reinvent myself every time, and had to kind of learn how to adapt, make new friends, fit in, and so like that was like one aspect of my personality. I was very independent because my mom was a single mom. Like helped around the house a lot, picked up sports on my own, was very creative pretty much like through my childhood. I was very into art. I was into music in that, like, I wasn't a musician, but we had a keyboard at home, and I used to teach myself how to kind of bump keys and make sounds that sounded good. I was also a little bit of a troublemaker. Like I skipped school for like 3 months because I failed a test and I was scared to go back. It was like a pretty tough one. I was like 11 years old or something. I ran away from home twice because of the same reason. Like it was just like one language that I just didn't understand, called Marathi. It's like an Indian language that I learned very late in my life, and I still don't really get it. So I was like afraid of failure in that sense. Like I really kind of wanted to be good at everything that I did. And yeah, like I was also like into, like making money. Even as a kid, like I used to come home from school, draw a bunch of Disney cartoons, and like stand in an elevator doing literal elevator pitches for parents coming back from work to get them to buy it for their kids. Like it was like that kind of stuff. Like when I moved to the States, I was like 15. I discovered a computer for the first time, when I was like 15. This was 2001 or 2000 or something. And it completely changed my life. Like I found a degree of freedom that I never had, and I picked up design on my own, taught myself how to do it, kind of faked my way through it. And people used to send me, money and envelopes to my mail, and my mom would freak out saying like, what the hell are you doing to get $100 bills in like the mail? And that's kind of like when I realized that's going to be something that I do, like taking this like passion of building companies or building projects and getting paid for it, as opposed to like working necessarily for someone. And I think like the independence from my childhood, the creativity from my childhood, um, I would say the entrepreneur energy, it all, kind of, I don't know, it just kind of, it's like one of those things where you kind of born this way. Like I was just kind of born that way. It wasn't taught. And then the flames were just kind of fanned by my now wife, but was my girlfriend in high school, by my mom, by my sister. Like they all kind of just fanned it and said, yeah, like go do your thing. Like this sounds like something that you want to do. And it just turned into a pretty awesome career.
Yeah. It's also funny that even as a kid, making money was actually like a creative exploration,
Yeah.
right? Standing in an elevator
Yeah.
and making elevator pitches, which is not, I don't know, I don't think that's that common for kids to think
I don't
about
think it's
money that way.
common. I don't think it's common. It's because like we don't have to talk about any of this, but like, we struggled a lot, like as a family. And in India, it's like, it's struggling is like a proper thing. Like and so for me, it was not a survival thing, but it was more of a, I know that I can't do the things I want to do without it. So even at like 10 or 11, I was just like, man, I just wish I just had a couple of rupees to like buy some fucking lassi or a chocolate bar or something. Like the fact that I can't do this is crazy. And I was just like, ah, fuck it. I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to
Yeah.
do it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, and then it was like, well, what's the one thing I have that I like can sell? And I realized like I can draw, and I also kind of internalize the fact that as a kid I could be quote cute and use that to my advantage. And so, and like almost like guilt parents into paying me some money to buy drawings. And like I knew that I was manipulating a sale, and I was like, I was fine with it. It's like, that's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I don't know if this is fair to say, but the companies that I know you've been a part of and that you've helped build have
Yeah.
all been a part of offering something of really high quality, but for a really good price, right? If I think about
Ah,
at Candid, that was the case, right?
yeah,
Much
dude.
better,
Yeah.
dental care with Dupe, absolutely the case. Like I loved reading this example of, I think it was like a $35,000 chair that, you could find, a couple different spots online, and, you can find something very equivalent through you guys for hundreds of dollars.
Yeah.
And WeWork in many ways is also that. Like the cost of somebody getting a WeWork level space was and is much more expensive to do on your own. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm seeing something there. I don't know if
That
that's, and
is, man, it's crazy that you touched that. Like that is the thread of my career, pretty much across the board, has been sticking it to the man in some sense and just saying like, no, I'm not going to pay that. We're gonna give everyone else what you have for less, right? Like, and not in like a Robin Hood sense, but in more of a, well, because I can do it, we're just gonna do it. You know,
yeah,
it's like a super weird thread. It also turns out that that is like what most people want, so it actually speaks to a very large audience of people. Just like between you and me, like I actually, it's like there's a running joke, and my wife makes fun of me because like I don't buy dupes of anything. Like I will pay full price for the best possible thing. So it's like dupes for thee, not for me,
I
sort of
love
thing.
that.
Like I will save money for a long time and then get the exact thing that I want. But
And why is that?
by by do because I appreciate the craftsmanship that goes into an original thought, right? Like it's like there is something to be said about celebrating the original creation. Like the Eames chair behind me, for example, like that is like an original Ray Charles Eames from 1956. That exact chair can be bought for $400 on Dupe. Now it won't be the 1956 version. It's going to be a completely different down. It's not going to be the same Brazilian wood. It's not going to, but you'll get the look. And is it reasonable to expect people to never have this look unless they are willing to spend $10,000 or $9,000? I think that is unreasonable. Like you cannot live in a world that is that exclusive. And so, and especially in a world in which mass consumerism and mass access has been kind of spoon fed to us. So I do think that there is a place in the world where most people would never A, pay that, but B, they wouldn't appreciate. Like I actually appreciate because before I bought that chair, I did a lot of research. I went down rabbit holes about Ray and Charles Eames. Like I went down rabbit holes on how they invented that chair. Like that is a very well known piece of furniture. Like the glasses I'm wearing are Matsuda Japanese titanium glasses. Like there's a lot of little details in these glasses on how it was put together, how it was designed, why it was designed. Like for example, this has, I don't know if you could see, but this has like a little pince nez. It doesn't have a nose. It has like a little pince nez here. Like that was invented. Like someone took the time to say, hey, a nose bridge shouldn't feel, it should feel like air. So instead of it being, you know, a steady state piece of metal, what if it was like a spongy metal? Like, okay, now someone had to like do the work to then design it. I'll pay for that because I did the research. Like I know, and that's easy to copy. Like anyone can copy this for $50 and great. Like I'm happy with anyone on earth having that. But for people who care about the craftsmanship, I think there is something to be said about paying for that. And I think, you know, for me, like I don't admonish either side of the market. I think both sides need to be served. And I'm happy to serve it. And with candid, like it is unreasonable, for example, to think that one of the first things people notice about you is your teeth when you smile. And then they make all these judgments about you. I think Nick Greenfield, your buddy, told me this like anecdote, which stuck with me, and one of the reasons why I wanted to do Candid with him. He was like, if you look at a poster of a person of color on a bus stop of them smiling and they had perfect teeth versus not perfect teeth, you would make all these judgments about this person with not perfect teeth, that they came from a broken home, that they are minimum wage workers, that they are blue collared. And if they had perfect teeth, you'd probably think they went to Harvard. They probably are, you know, white collar, da da da. And I was like, man, that is so right. That makes sense. Like, it's not reasonable that someone shouldn't have access to that. That's like life-changing care. It should not be out of reach for most people. And so to me, that is the sense of like sticking it to the man. And I love doing that kind of stuff.
Well, and it seems like that's been the guiding thread. I mean, I'm imagining again now young Bobby doing, you know, elevator pitches, and now it's just in like this other form where you have been able to stick it to the man, you know, a number of times, and in a big way right now.
Yeah. I mean, we got sued for it. The moment we built Dupe, we got sued. The moment we came out of, you know, stealth, we got sued. So, and we fought it. I love that. That means it's working, right?
Yeah.
Like that means the storytelling is working. The product is scary. You know, what else should we be doing to like really make noise about like the cool things that we can be doing here with Dupe? And to me, that is like, you know, one of your questions, which is, you know, what is creativity given the kinds of things that I work on now? To me, that is it. Like, to me, that is creativity. It's like leverage at that level is really freaking exciting.
Yeah. Could you share? I mean, I imagine, you know, having been a founder myself, there's plenty of moments in any given day that do not feel like inspiring creativity. But then there are these really incredible moments that are hard to replicate in any other context. And so what are some of those moments in your current life that just feel like, wow, this is like the peak experience of creativity that I'm getting?
I think so. You know, I did this podcast, right? This like high resolution podcast, and I got to speak to a lot of like really incredible designers. And the thing that I like walked away with that in that podcast, where I got to kind of study their life, their work, how they, you know, why they do what they do, etc. Like the thing that I like learned that made me appreciate design in the sense that I design is that like I'm not envious of like creativity, the the what's the word, like the way we typically think of creativity, which is just creating for the sake of creating, right? Like that is, I don't envy that anymore, because people I respect in my industry, they don't do that. peak creativity for them and for me and for all of us is like, what is the leverage? Like, it's not that it needs to be interesting in and of itself. It needs to be interesting. It needs to be accessible. It needs to have some level of sustainability. And I don't mean in the green sense. I mean that it should outlast the idea. It should outlast you kind of putting something out, and it should be able to impact people over a long period of time. It should make money. This matters, right? Like a starving artist is a stereotype for a reason. This is really dumb. This is not, to me, creativity. Like part of creativity is like, like you think about Edison or something like that. Like they knew the value of creating was not in the creation itself. It was the impact to everyone. Like when the light bulb was created, it wasn't just the aha, holy shit, like that's a light bulb and look at the light emitting. It was like, no, like this light bulb is going to change the world because it will literally bring light to people in literal darkness to help them extend their day further, do more work, be more productive, have a better life, because they can see better. It will, it will eliminate dangers on streets. There's all sorts of benefits that come from this. To me, that is peak creativity, is like the leverage of the benefit, not the interesting creation itself. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah. Oh, it totally
And
does.
yeah, and like when I spoke to these like other designers, they all have the same thing. It's like not creation for the sake of creation. Like this needs to impact people, and you should be able to feel that impact. And that to me is like peak creativity.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because that feels unique in some way, right? If I think about in my own life, I would say the moments of creativity that I enjoy the most are when I'm not necessarily focused on the external world. Like I'm just at my piano playing music, enjoying it for the sake of playing music, or I'm deep in, a creative brainstorm around a business that I'm building.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get stuck then when I'm thinking about, how to get that to scale, how to get that to grow, stuck in the sense of it doesn't feel sometimes the same fire or that same excitement. But for you and for a lot of the people that you were talking to, it seems like that's not the case, that you actually get excitement from thinking about how the thing you're building interacts with the world.
Yeah. I can't think of a single thing that I've built, you know, that excited me where it, what's like a good example? It's like when you listen to like a good song, good music or something,
Yeah.
or you watch a good movie, it's never as good on your own.
Mhm.
It's always better when you're sharing,
Yeah.
right? Because the sharing validates that it's good.
Mm.
Does that kind of make sense? It's one of these like, you know, yeah, like have you ever like eaten at a nice restaurant on your own? Like it's kind of depressing, bro.
It's
Like
it's so funny because I have the opposite experience. I love nothing more than being by myself at
that's
a
interesting.
phenomenal meal and just being like, my God, like how amazing that I am not distracted. I'm just fully in
Yes.
it.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm there with you. To be clear, I enjoy great meals and great music on my own. I'm like working most of the time and I'm listening to great music.
Right.
I'm saying this different thing though.
Mm.
Imagine that you ate that meal on your own and you could never share that thing,
Yes, I'm there with
right?
you. Yeah.
Like there are levels to like to the excitement, and
Yes.
there's the one level which is you discovered it, and there's quite another level that others now discovered it because of you.
Yeah. Yes.
It's cool.
Yeah. No, I love that distinction. The feeling of like the aha moments or the moment you get to experience just on your own,
Yes.
and then the
Yeah.
experience of sharing that. And so for you, how do those two show up? Like, are there moments where you're just alone in your house these days and you get to have this like beautiful insight around dupe or something that you're, working on? How does the individual versus shared experience show up for you?
Well, on dupe specifically, you know, we we have enough scale now that when we put something out, we see how people react to it, whether something's working, whether something's not working. And it took us a long time to get to this point, a lot of trial and error. Um, to me, like the exciting thing, like I was just saying before we started talking, like I'm shipping this PR. The exciting thing is like I'm shipping a PR, and by the end of day to day, the thing that I'm working on, which is like a cool part of our onboarding, I'm changing parts of it. I will get a sense, like if all goes well, I will have a better understanding of who our user is. We'll be able to get them to an aha moment within seconds instead of today, it's days. It takes a little while. Um, and users will want to use the product more. I'll know all these three things by today, maybe by tomorrow, right? That's the kind of stuff that, when I'm working on Dupe and I have this like insight about what something can be and I talk to the team about it, or the team takes an idea and elevates it and puts it out there, where I get excited by the numbers, because remember, I'm a founder. So at the end of the day, survival is my KPI. The
Yeah.
number one killer of companies is suicide, not homicide.
Yeah.
Companies die because of self-inflicted wounds. And so to me, it's like I want to have fewer self-inflicted wounds, and I get excited when we put something out there and it works, whether it's me or as a team, and it feels like, oh, we get to keep fighting. This gives us more ammo. This gives us
Yeah.
more of a shot. Like we, we
Yeah.
we'll be here for 18 more months because of this thing. That's the kind of stuff that I get like super, super, super excited about. I know that's like anti-creative in a sense. Like maybe.
Well, I don't know, but it sounds like for you, what's neat is that there's this really tight and fast loop between you get to have an idea, you get to explore that and flesh that out, and then
Yeah.
put it out into the world. And within a day, you get some really immediate feedback,
Yeah.
which, as you mentioned, is hard to do unless you already have a certain amount of scale. I mean, it's so frustrating in those early days of a company where you like want to get feedback, and it's so hard to get a volume of it that's real from like
Yeah.
actual users. You have to sort of manufacture that in a number of ways.
Yeah.
But you now are at a place where you just get to put it out, and then your real users tell you.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's it. That's it. That's it in a nutshell. And yeah, like, man, you just going back to this thing about alone versus sharing together. It's like you think about a great musician, or like an orchestra conductor or something. Like imagine an orchestra conductor gets no feedback from the audience versus thunderous applause, right? It didn't change the music, but the thunderous applause kind of, it gave you feedback that you
Yeah.
did your. And
Mm.
what is it about human beings at the end of the day that, we want to have a job of work that we do well, that others can appreciate as well. Like every human wants. That's like an innate human desire. And
Yeah.
whether that job of work is paying you or not, it could be that made a tchotchke in your woodworking shop for yourself that is now sitting in the console of your living room, that every guest that comes in stares at, and then maybe asks you a question about it. It's like it serves no purpose other than to start a conversation. It serves no purpose other than to signal to the world that, like, I created this and I know how to create. And isn't that a wonderful, like, kind of beautiful thing? But imagine no one saw it and you just created it for yourself. It's like, okay, I'm not saying it's bad, but it's not the same. All right.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
Yeah. I love that. I haven't reflected much on that interplay between the individual and the shared experience, but it's really neat to think about the different experience you get in both realms.
Yeah. Yeah. On the one sense, there's like deep fulfillment that you accomplished a task. It's like cleaning the dishes. It's like I accomplished it. My kitchen looks better because of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, I did that. And then just on the other sense, there's humans are not lone wolves, man. Like we travel in packs. All right. Humans need that validation. That validation is fuel for the next creation.
Yeah.
If I got no validation on Dupe, man, it would be really tough to show up every day. I'll be honest. It'd be really like, why am I doing this? Who is this for? It's not for me, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, as you said, you're buying the full price thing. So
Not always, but on certain things,
yeah.
I
Well,
do.
and on that note, I mean, ever since I've known you, you come across to me as like a connoisseur, right? Like you like certain experiences, you have a certain taste, whether it's for music, whether it's for food, whether it's for design, whether it's for fashion. And I imagine you might take certain inspiration from that you pull into your own projects. And so in your life, like what does drawing inspiration look like for you? Is that going to shows? Is that going to museums? Is that like where do you find your creative inspiration?
One of my favorite scenes for one of my favorite documentaries is Jiro Dreams of Sushi, and like
Yeah.
there's a scene there where one of his apprentices talks about how like the first thing Jiro makes every apprentice do is go out and taste as much food as possible, like go to every restaurant so you have a sense of what good food tastes like, right? And so like in my realm, that is using a lot of products. I use a lot of products. Like I my phone is filled with videos of me going through onboardings. Almost every product I use, when I install an app, I turn on my screen recording because I have no idea what their onboarding looks like. I turn on my screen recording and I record what their onboarding looks like. That's the kind of stuff I'm like constantly pulling from the universe. And I sometimes I see something and I'm just like, I want to try that. I'm going to steal that. That's mine now. And I'm going to put that into my little product and let's see how that does. And like most of the time it doesn't work out. Like there's this one founder, his name is something Yadagari. I forgot his Zach Yadagari or something. He was 17 when I met him 2 years ago. I think he's like 19 now, but he started this company called Cal AI. And all it does is calorie tracking. Now, this guy at 17 built one of the top apps in the App Store. I don't know if you've heard of it or not, but they did like 3 million a month in revenue, like a lot of revenue. Okay. At 17, like there was a lot written about him. They sold the company at this point. But when I met with him, I was going through his onboarding because I wanted to see it. And I was like at between a rock and a hard place with Dupe's onboarding at that point. And he like gave me so much insight. And I was like, man, at 17, I didn't have any of this. Like this kid is something else. Like he's incredible. He's amazing. And everything he said about his onboarding made so much sense to me. I was like, man, all of this just, I'm taking it all. I put it in the Dupe. None of this shit worked. None of it worked. None of it. But it's because for him, like he figured it out for himself. And so where I'm willing to take inspiration from other people's product work to bring it into my own product. What I found is that almost every product is idiosyncratic into itself or unto itself because the type of user that comes to you is different, why they come to you is different, how they decide to use you, what job they want you to do for them is different. And so the best way I've found to like approach hard problems in like the creative space in my realm, which is in product design, is yes, borrow a lot very quickly, but you still have to be scientific about whether or not something makes sense for your product or not. Outside of that, as I said, I appreciate craftsmanship. Like I wish I could just care about craftsmanship on my product, but there's always a tension of survival and beauty when you're a founder, like a design founder persona type, right? Like I want everything to be so well crafted. I want my peers in the design industry to think I'm, the second coming in design. I want to be able to show all of these things off, all of my skills. But then as a founder, you kind of put on a different hat and you're thinking to yourself about all those companies that cared so deeply about craft and failed very quickly because they forgot the thing that keeps the lights on is the value is like the thing we were talking about with the light bulb. It's like the value that other people get and how fast you can disperse that value and how freely you can do it. So to make it accessible to everyone. And so, yeah, like I care about craftsmanship and I care about, colors and type and like all these things. But at the end of the day, the thing that I value the most is watching how great businesses were built. Like Airbnb comes to mind as a design founder, the epitomizing design founder in Silicon Valley. And then you go back to Airbnb 2007, 2009, 2010. It was ugly as shit.
Yeah.
It was bad, dude.
I remember that because Nick and I were working at Lyft then, and they were right down the street, and we were always hanging out and seeing them, and it was not beautiful.
It was not beautiful, but those founders are extremely taste driven, and that they traded off beauty for something else. And of course, for them, it was legendary founder company status, right? Like product market fit, product marketing fit, founder product fit. Like they were going for all of those things and they were willing to move quickly and sacrifice a few things along the way. And I think if you look at Airbnb and where it is now, is like they have earned the right to bring a sense of design to the world, right? But first it was designing the solution to a problem. Now it's about designing the solution to be beautiful, and like they get to do some like really, really cool things with it. And I do think that you have to earn that, or just know that it's going to be very expensive to like keep your company alive, and hopefully you can raise a lot of money to do it.
Right. Well, and given that you are a design, a design founder with a deep design background, how do you define your role, right? Because as a founder, you get to kind of write your own job description, and there's a lot of different flavors of it. So, what does yours look like?
Company's always going to be bad. Like the company will be the worst at something that the founder is the best at, because and like right, so like design is my thing, and I think Dupe's weakest arm is design, because that is something that I own, and it's my job to also own other things. So I can't give it the attention it desires. And it's compounded by the fact that I'm extremely picky with the type of designer I'm willing to work with. Right. So I have not, like, I've hired two designers, both of them didn't work out very quickly because I have an expectation. And it wasn't because of craft, it was all the things around the craft that I think a good designer should have, that I've just felt like these designers missed. And what does that mean? That means that I'm making it more painful for myself and my team, because I'm now taking back the reins of design, and I'm doing, and it's not because I'm trying to be precious about it. It's because I know too much about it. And I kind of like know when corners are being cut, or, like, yeah, essentially like I know too much. I basically, like, I'm trying to mirror myself in someone else, which is almost unfair,
Yeah.
because I have a completely different background and a completely different set of life experiences. But to me, like that is one of the things I've like really, really struggled with. So yeah, like design at Dupe is in a rough place. I've basically gotten to the point where I have to ship code in order to ship design, because if I leave it to the engineers, like my co-founder is amazing, Rameen's, he's amazing, and honestly the best design oriented engineer I've ever met. Like he's actually like somewhat of a designer himself, so he makes things look as good as he can. But I just know if I can go in there and just put my own little, if I could zhuzh it up just a little bit, it's going to have a, just that one X factor above. And he knows it too, and we're finally in a place where I can do that, so I do that. But yeah, like yeah, this is just one of the things I struggle with
Yeah.
as a founder.
Yeah. And so when you're at the beginning, very early stages of the company, and I know you mentioned there were a lot of different tactics that Dupe has tried, right? It wasn't the example of you hitting the market and it immediately working. There was a lot of different pivots along the way. So at the beginning, I imagine there was a lot that you just had to do yourself and do all of it. And then there's now where you have a certain amount of traction and you have a certain, size of team. And so are there things that you're now able to do that feel more like, oh, it's in your zone of genius than you were in the early days?
Yes. One of the things that I had to unlock is distribution, which, as you know, being a founder yourself, is the one thing that kills most companies. If you don't get enough people to know you exist at a cheap enough price that your unit economics work, right? And so when we started Dupe, it was not called Dupe, it was called Carrot. Carrot was on its last leg of failure. We had an acquisition offer from a top two Canadian e-com firm. I won't name them, but you'll know who they are. And we decided not to sell to them, and decided to take one last hurrah and say, like we're just gonna go for it. And we have 3 months of runway. We probably have one more arrow left in the quiver. Let's fire it, see what comes of it. We worked with Nikita Beer, who's like a well-known growth hacker in the kind of startup space, and he helped us kind of see that there was one feature in Dupe that that was really one feature in Carrot that was really potent. We made that feature Dupe, so it's basically what Dupe turned out to be. When we came out, we actually did catch fire pretty quickly for a few days. And so we had the classic, huge fire and then boom, came crashing down. The thing I had to get good at, and the thing that I would now say is in my zone of genius is UGC and I would say organic social growth. So I installed TikTok for the first time in 2024, and I finally started using Instagram in 2024 to figure out. And I went down all these rabbit holes. How do you make content? What goes viral? Why does it go viral? And I learned about 20 or 30 different things that made us predictably go viral. So even till today, we predicted, like right now, we are viral somewhere. Okay, because of things that we unlocked. And so now when I meet with founders who have not unlocked this is something I can very quickly give them access to. Like, it's like, here's the few things you should know, and here's how to go about it, and here's how many at bats you need in order to win, and you will win. Like, this is a formula. It is actually like not rocket science. It's literally just basic ass science. And so, for me, it's like, man, it's really potent to be a personality type that understands business and knows how to raise money and talk to investors and manage and hire people, while being a product designer who now has some engineering powers, while also being able to distribute and unlock distribution organically, which is the hardest form of this, because you can always pay for ads, but to do it organically completely changes your funnel. And so one of the things I'm like super proud of, ever since the first day of Dupe, is now 2 years in, our CAC payback is like less than 1 month. Whereas our competitors are like 10 months or 12 months, or even Honey at its heyday was like 12 months, right? So for us, it's less than 1 month, is because we've unlocked a lot of the funnel insights and I would say that was not something I knew much about, and it had to become my zone of genius. And now it's very much squarely in my zone of genius.
Yeah. Well, it seems like you're also very willing to go outside. I mean, I asked about, what is it like to be a design founder? Clearly that's a deep passion and set of expertise, but you are also very willing to go outside of that lane, and not just a slight departure, but to, lean into becoming a, social media expert on virality,
Yeah.
or to lean in on any of the other things that you need to do.
Yeah. I mean, again, it was about survival. Like, if I didn't do it, I hired a bunch of people before me to do it, but they were not, you have to be a sleuth, like a sleuther. Like, you have to be a rabbit hole personality type in order to unlock some of these things, right? Like, on the engineering side, if you're getting into AI today, or have been for the last year, you are the quintessential classic sleuther. The amount of work you have to do to figure out what's the right model, what are the right systems, how do you set up an agent orchestration layer? How do you do, because you're on the forefront, you're on the bleeding edge. You have to figure out all of these things while everyone else is figuring it out together. And so, right, like the space of available potential is so large and so wide that you kind of have to poke into it with everyone else. Or you can come at it 2 years from now where a lot of this stuff has been figured out, but you're no longer on the bleeding edge. You're just the average person doing the work. And so I feel like a lot of people that we hired on the social side were very much like, they were coming at it just to do a job of work. They were just like, yeah, like this is my 9 to 5. This is what I do. But it's like, no. That's not how you win in this space, man. Like, the leverage is 10x, it's 100x, it's 1,000x. If you are just willing to be the sleuther, go that one extra mile, listen to that one extra podcast, that one extra YouTube video that might give you that insight, and then have the judgment to know that that is a real insight, and have the kind of, I wouldn't even say courage, I would say the discipline of trying out that insight, and put that on a loop, and keep going and keep going. And at some point you will break through. And by some point, I don't mean sometime, I mean like in weeks, days, you will break through, because you are not special. Like, this is worked for everyone else. It will work for you. Like, right?
Yeah.
Diet and exercise, you will lose weight. You're not special. It's like, you're a human. And that's how that works.
But it's about discipline. Yeah. About, and not just a moment of discipline, but like discipline over time, and to get the results. Well, and I'm hearing a number of these things that you've learned and picked up along the way that have allowed you to tap into this. But I imagine there's also some things that you had to sort of let go of or set down about yourself along the way that started to kind of get in the way. What were some of those things?
Well, okay, just going back to the social media stuff, being on camera, this is something I had to do for Dupe. And this is not something I was comfortable with. I kind of felt like a sellout. you know, like, man, like attention seeking and this and that. And so what I started, you'll appreciate this, I bought Post-it notes, and I used to do one of these things where I would write a hook on a Post-it note and I would then film the hook and then show the product demo.
Yeah.
Now it's funny because the reason I did that is because I didn't want to be on camera. So this was my creative way of saying, okay, well, people say you need a hook. So instead of speaking out the hook, what if I just wrote the hook that would force them to watch the video, and then the video should, in theory, go viral? That worked. Okay. It went super, super viral, and it got copied like millions of times. It got copied in China. Like
Wow.
literally, people, like companies in China were copying it on their social networks. And I laughed when I saw that. But when I realized that this now became the standard, everyone was doing Post-it notes on camera, I had to learn and get comfortable with the fact that I needed to be on camera, because no one could replicate me as a person. No one can replicate you as a person, right? Like you as
Right.
a person will deliver your message in a better way. And so I had to get comfortable with that. And that's something I had to teach myself. What is the lighting? For example, I have these like windows next to me. So I face the window. I bought these like little microphones so that my sound could be a little bit better. How do I
Yeah.
position the camera? At what point am I like full screen versus small? You know, like all of these things I had to like unlock a lot of these things. And all of that came from just like rinse and repeat, try, like new things, new things, new things. And then sometimes something just works so big that by the way, the mistake a lot of people make with social media is like the moment something works big, they say, oh, that's great. Let me move on to the next thing. It's like, no, recreate that 100 more times. That exact thing 100 more times, because you will find new audiences with every new video. All of these things were outside of my comfort zone that I had to kind of figure out.
And all those little tweaks, I feel like are such a big part of the creative process that it is like the most expected thing to happen, right? In any creative pursuit, you're going to run into all this tiny little minutia of tweaking. And I remember I'm now making live looped electronic music, and it's like plugging in the cables and getting the sound to work is like a pain in the ass. And I remember at the beginning being like, I should give up on it. And then I'm like, no, anybody who wants to do this has to go through this process. If you want to make content, you have to go through thinking about lighting and audio quality and editing. And it's just, I always love it. The author Elizabeth Gilbert has this quote where she's like, everything has a shit sandwich. It's just like, what shit sandwich are you willing to eat every day?
Yeah.
And it's the case. It's just like, how can you shift the view on it?
Yeah. It's like, if the view shift is assume it's going to suck, I'm going to give you a little life hack for you and your audience, all right? Because
Yeah.
I think this, especially for people who want to make content, it's one of my favorite things to do. Go to any, like, I'm assuming you watch YouTube and like you have your favorite
Yeah.
channels, right?
Yeah.
Go to any YouTube channel that you like, whose content you religiously watch,
Mm-hmm.
and this is without fail. Go to the video tab on the YouTube channel and then sort by oldest and watch the first video.
Yeah.
You will not believe how bad that video is. And then watch the
Yeah.
10th video. It will still be bad. And then watch the 50th video. It gets a little bit better. There's a gradient to progress in any endeavor. In any endeavor. And at some point, even if you look at a compounding curve, right? A compounding curve of growth in, let's say, your 401k. It doesn't just do that, and it doesn't do that. It does the hockey stick, right? That is what a compounding curve looks like. In every endeavor, you're going to have a compounding hockey stick curve if you stick with it and you admit that the first 100 times you do something, it's gonna suck. So that because when it inevitably sucks, because it will suck, the conversation you should have with yourself is, yeah, I was right. This sucks. I'm just gonna do it anyway. I'm
Yeah.
gonna do it again. Instead of like, man, that really sucked. I didn't expect that. No. Expect that. It's gonna suck. And that's the alpha. Right?
I love that. I'm thinking about the different channels, and I'm like, oh, I would love to go look at video one.
Oldest. Just go look at video. I mean, the quintessential YouTube channel is Mr. Beast. Go look at his
Right.
first video.
Right.
It is literally, I think it's him saying some YouTuber's name a million times or 1,000 times or something in front of the camera. That's literally his first video.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
some stupid thing like that. And it's like, man, everyone has a Mr. Beast in them. What did he do that was so different? He's not any better than anyone else. He's just more disciplined than all of us.
Yeah.
He
Well, and there's
stuck with
something behind the actual product that we see that's motivating it. And for me, it's hopefully helpful for me to remember that why, because whatever the manifestation is, the product at the time might not hit and it might not work. And if that's it, then you just give up versus, I imagine there was something deeply driving you behind Carrot initially and now Dupe, where you're like, okay, even though this thing's not working, like there is something burning in me that I keep coming back to.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's like part of it is I just don't want to fail at this thing that I care about. Right? I love this product. I was the number one power user of Carrot. I am the number one power user of Dupe. I don't want to fail because I will miss this product if it does not exist in the world. So I'm willing to fight for it. That's kind of number one. Number two is like I have a lot of knowledge and experience, and I know how to get more. So what's stopping this from succeeding if both of those things are true?
Yeah.
I have zero limits on myself. I don't put a ceiling on what's possible, right? Like I don't feel bad about anything that doesn't work. I will literally regret not doing this thing. Like this is a deathbed regret. So let's not let's not regret it. And so
Yeah.
that's the thing that pushes me.
I feel like that's a beautiful note to end on, Bobby. And I so appreciate getting to reconnect with you. It was a treat. When I reached out to you, I was remembering a lot of our conversations when we lived together at the same time in New York. And it's such a treat to reconnect with you now. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah.